everybody here already knows Midori. But what you might not know is that Midori and her husband have been together for almost 30 years. They've owned several businesses together. They have somehow worked together, raised 2 boys, and they still like each other. So she is a relationship expert for the California Women's Conference. She's been featured on Fox News Magazine, Your Tango, countless radio and podcast shows, and she works with many high-profile celebrities. So I am so honored to know and be a part of Midori's life. She's an incredible, selfless, brilliant woman, and she has tenacity and poise. So Midori, thank you for allowing me the honor of having this interview here on our show. Appreciate it.
Wow. And that was such a nice intro. That was like the best ever. Thanks.
You were so welcome. You're so worthy of it. No doubt. Okay, I'm going to jump into our interview. I recently had the honor of hearing a little bit about your story and how you had this inspiration to become a relationship coach. So our audience probably doesn't know. So can you give us some of that background onto what inspired you to become a relationship coach?
Yeah. Well, when I turned 40, I went through like a little midlife crisis. I remember waking up that morning and just thinking, oh my God, I don't want to get out of bed. I just felt like this huge weight, like the whole dark sky had like fallen on me. It was the weirdest feeling. I've never felt like that before, but that's the way I felt. Yeah. And I just couldn't figure it out. And after I thought about it more and more, and I really, took some time, I realized I was super disappointed in where I was at that point in my life. I felt like I was 40, I was halfway through my life, and I didn't achieve all those big things that I wanted to achieve. My husband and I owned a business at that point, which at that stage, I was so burnt out. I wanted to just take off for the hills. I didn't care. I just wanted to walk away from everything. I wanted just to get out no matter what. I just wanted to get out. I hated it so much. And I felt trapped. I felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do? We can't walk away from the business. I can't go into a new career. I don't have time to go to school and do all this other stuff. I just felt stuck. And then I started blaming my husband for things, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And so long story short, I ended up just finally getting sick of myself, of feeling so blue and depressed, and one day I just decided, that's it. I'm done. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to find what I need to do. I'm going to get the help I need and change my path. And so I started reading everything. I started going to seminars, and through all of it, I finally realized that I needed to go after my passion, because that's what I was missing. Yeah. I was missing that. I wasn't going after my why. I wasn't in my passion. That was what the problem was. And so through everything, I finally figured out what my passion was and came up with my very, very strong why. And that's how I got into the relationship business.
Oh my gosh. So you've got me thinking, because every time I hear this, I need to like pause and take it in. So do you think, looking back now, that if you had been following your why and your purpose, that you could have jumped over that part of your life where you felt so low and depressed? Do you feel a little more foolproof that no matter really what comes, you're walking in your purpose and there's not really much that can really drag you down?
It makes all the difference. It makes all the difference, because when you have your own business, you're going to get so many obstacles. There's so many things that tell you shouldn't do it. You're going to fail. I mean, there's so many things that happen. But because I love what I'm doing, because I know I have such a powerful message to share, that's never an issue for me. I never think I'm going to give up, right. And so I think it helps with the success, without even trying to be successful. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. Uh-huh. It's like you're walking in it already. Like that's part of being successful, is that you're walking in success. So it sounds like you had this mindset shift. And so mindset is really a big part of what you teach and coach your clients in their relationships. Tell me about why mindset is so important in relationships.
Mindset's everything. And it can be, whether it's your career, whether it's the way that you approach the world, really. And I through what I went through, I read 1,000 books. I watched every video. I followed different people. I went to seminars for it. But by changing little things in your mindset, so follow me on this. All of us have these recordings that we believe are true, right? Mm-hmm. So it could be that I'm not athletic. I'm not ever going to make X amount of dollars. I'm always going to be kind of right here. Mm-hmm. These are truths that we believe about ourselves.
Right.
But once we get the right mindset, we can change all that. We can replace the way that we think. We can become that marathon runner that we want. We can become someone who can break through that financial ceiling. We can become the success that we want. We can have that happy relationship that we deserve. But by shifting your mindset, it makes it all possible. And there's tools that you can use. There's all kinds of tools out there and things that I teach to help people shift that. But it's more about not just in your own relationship, but it's the way that you think about the whole world and the truths that you believe about yourself.
I think like for me, part of the, have you ever had the feeling of, oh my gosh, this is so good. I really need my spouse to hear this. If my spouse could hear this, this would help me tremendously. If he could hear this, and you want them to hear the things that you're hearing, or you want them to have a similar mindset that you have. You are only in control of your own mindset, and you can't control their mindset. So what if you feel like your spouse needs to change their mindset on something? And how do you get them to get on that level? Because I would say probably 10% of the people I meet actually have a high level thinking mindset, or, think that anything is possible and have a high performing mentality on life. So like,
what do they call that? Emotional intelligence? What is that called? Yeah. There's a term for it. I think it might be emotional intelligence.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So you brought up some really good points there. So one is how do you get your partner to come on board with you, and change their mindset?
Yeah.
You can't force them to. You can do little things to plant the seeds, but you can't force them to. And the more that you try to force them, the more that they're going to retreat, the more frustrated you're going to get. So a couple things here. So what I finally realized with me is I had to work on me. I had to stop focusing on what I felt like he was doing wrong. I had to just focus on me. So it was important for me to fix my mindset. And once I really kind of got that under control, I wasn't as worried about stuff that he was doing anymore. The things that he did that used to bug me, they don't bug me anymore because I worked on myself. And what I have done though for helping him change his mindset, because for probably the first 15 years of our marriage, we had started a business right away, and it was insanely stressful. Yeah. But part of it was the way that we were thinking. Mm-hmm. And so I got to that was part of my 40, when I turned 40, I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take that level of stress anymore. And that's why I wanted to run for the hills. Yeah, I'm not kidding when I say that. But he was still there. And I understood the freedom that you feel, the calmness that you feel once you can kind of put that into the right perspective. But I kept on telling him and he wasn't listening.
Yeah.
So what happened was he started to see how I was reacting and how I let little things go. I don't concentrate on the small things. And he started to see the change that I was doing. And it just kind of, through osmosis, I guess, started to go into him. So now he approaches things a bit differently now too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that happens when you do focus on yourself. You rub off a little bit of what you're doing is going to rub off, and they'll be like, "What is she doing different?" Mm-hmm. Right? So it gets them to be like, "Oh, maybe I can actually think different," and it's helping her so much. They see the difference in you that it makes them want to make a change.
Without saying you need to do this.
Yeah.
You need to stop this. You need to change. No one wants to hear that.
Yeah.
No one does. So, and then the other things that I've done, like I've bought him tickets to go to see Tony Robbins, done some other things, but it can't come from me. That's the bottom line. It can't come from me telling him what he's doing wrong. And you have to be really careful with, even doing the Tony Robbins thing, because you don't want them to feel like you don't appreciate them, that you think lesser of them.
Yeah.
So you have to be very strategic.
Yeah, because it could be offensive. Oh, you don't think I'm good enough or something, right? Like, so you want them to feel like you're doing something that's so great already. Like, this is only going to make you greater, and like come off from a pure place, right?
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of, there was tension that happened as I'm going through all this change, because it's dramatic, the difference from when I was 40 to where I am now, the change. And he's talked about it, but there's some stresses that happen because he sees me changing and he sees me reacting to different things. And then he starts, sometimes, you know, your partner can feel like you're looking down on them, even though you might not be. They can feel that way. And so that's just something to be aware of when you're going through a big change.
That's a really interesting point, because as you get better, if your spouse isn't making themselves better, you're almost distancing yourself more for a minute before they realize, oh, if I don't like catch up to speed here, I'm going to be left behind.
And they may never change. But so, and I see this in a lot of couples, and often it's the female who does the changing. So they, you know, maybe they got married at a certain point and they're both, let's say they're fairly much the same education, same type of careers, whatever, it doesn't matter. But then one person escalates who they are, and it could be emotionally, it could be in their career, it could be anything. You know, it's all figurative.
Yeah.
But the other person stays where they were. That can cause a lot of tension. But by working on your mindset, that's why I keep coming back to mindset, because it's everything. It really is everything. I think of all the positives with him, and there's a ton. I adore him. I love him. He makes me laugh. He totally takes care of us. He does so much for us. But if I was still in that old mindset where he pisses me off because of XYZ, that's when there's those problems with relationships.
Right.
And they can't get through those tough times, which happens to everybody. Make sense?
Yeah. So the mindset shift isn't only about how you can make yourself better, but it's about how you can talk and think about your husband in a way that makes him better too. Even if he doesn't change, that you appreciate him for who he really is in the moment that he's at.
Yeah. You put things in perspective.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. I'm going to change the question here really quick. Okay. So what makes you different from other relationship coaches and therapists? I'm interested to know. I've never met another really relationship coach or therapist. I've never gone through it. So why would somebody say, you know what, I want Midori to guide me through this?
You know, there's a couple things. One, I've been with the same partner for almost 30 years. And I practice what I preach. I use it. I use those tools. I refine them. I see what doesn't work and what does work. I read a ton. In college, I focused on sociology and psychology and communication. Those were that was my zone. But I actually use it. Yeah. I practice it. And so it's not done. A lot of therapists, they go through, and I don't want to go down, I don't want to say anything negative about therapists, because there is a place for that. But I focus more on changing your mindset and making it more of a lifestyle. I truly believe if you want to have a good relationship, you have to blend your lifestyle in with your relationship. They go together. And when you do that well, it's amazing where your life can go and how your relationship can blossom, and it gets more exciting and fun and passionate. But I do believe that they have to be melded together.
So tell me more about that. Like, why is it so important for your relationship and lifestyle to intertwine? What does that mean? And what does that look like?
So what I mean by that is it goes back to the mindset, but what kind of life do you want to have? What do you want? Do you want to, and I'm big on setting goals and having a purpose and thinking big. And so what do you want? Do you want to travel the world? Do you want to totally shift gears and go into a new career? Do you want to change? Do you want to just give up some of the craziness of your life and go and live in a hut in the Bahamas and live off of mangoes and fish? What is it? Because I think that's kind of a cool thing, but that's a lifestyle. It's something that you create. It's something that's within you. And I think when the couples can come together and they have the same type of goals, big goals, and they're working on them together and they're holding each other accountable, they're supporting each other, that's amazing. That keeps that passion alive. There's a chemical that when you first meet someone, a chemical that's released called dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
It's in your body. And that's the thing that makes you feel,
like alive.
Those butterflies and all that excitement.
Uh-huh.
Our bodies crave dopamine. And that's one of the reasons why people cheat. It's because they're craving that dopamine, that excitement.
Yeah.
And their relationship's gotten kind of boring. So they go and cheat because they want that excitement again.
Yeah.
By creating common goals and creating this really cool lifestyle, and you're working on it together, you release that dopamine again. And so that is how you really build a strong relationship where you both are fully engaged and fully loving it. And it's like having your own little partner, right?
Yeah.
Where you're like approaching life and you're just going at it together. So that's why I say it has to be intertwined.
That is such a good perspective. So what do you think is the most common issue that you see for your clients? Is it that their lifestyle wants aren't matching up, or like that there's communication? Like what's kind of the big common problems that people come to you for?
The biggest, with every single couple, it's communication. Oh. That's the top one. Every single couple, they are having communication issues. So it could be, perpetual problems that they haven't dealt with. It could be that one person is not speaking up and the other person is dominating because the other person didn't speak up. I mean, there's so many different things, but it's communication is the number one, or one person isn't listening or respecting.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I hear a lot is couples get bored. There's one person wants to go have this kind of lifestyle. The other person wants to just lay low and sit and watch TV and watch sports and hang out. So they're kind of going like this. It happens a lot when you have kids. Mm-hmm. So those are some of the big issues that I see common in almost every couple. As
I've noticed like patterns in my own life, I have moments where like I want to go out more and do things and be really active. But then I have other times where I just want to lay low. So it's not like I'm constantly like this one person. It's just depends on like what moment I'm in my life,
Right.
And I think that would be hard for two people. Like, what if we're just having different moments? And like, how do you like put yourselves in that same alignment, even when you're having different moments in your own lives?
Yeah, that's communication.
Communication.
It's where you talk like, I know there are moments with me where I'm like doing a new project, or I'm writing my book, or I'm just super engrossed and, it goes on for a few months. But you have to communicate with your partner to say, hey, I don't have the energy to go out right now. I don't feel like it. I don't feel good. I'm focusing on this. Just give me some time, and just opening up the dialogue and listening to them. But also you have to be willing to give. So if your partner's like, look, we haven't gone out in 3 months and I'm bored to tears, or we haven't had sex and, this long, you have to listen and you have to push yourself to go appease them a bit too. So
what about the clients, or I'm sure you get this, I'm just guessing. I mean, once upon a time I was married. Okay. So what about the times when you say, we fight about the same thing over and over again. He doesn't hear what I'm saying. He's not like, it's driving me up a wall. He doesn't care enough about that is bothering me to change what he's doing,
Yeah.
Is that like, what about the thing that happens and you just feel like you're not getting anywhere and you fight about it. It's 10 years later and you're still fighting about the same thing.
Yeah. You know what that's called? That's called perpetual arguments, perpetual disagreements. So there's solvable and then there's perpetual, and perpetual are the recurring ones that you're talking about. Guess how much our arguments are based on perpetual? Do you have any idea?
No, I would say like 45%.
69%.
Oh, wow.
69%. Every couple has them. Couples who've been together for a little while at least.
Yeah.
And those are the problems that we have where they don't get solved. Just like you're saying, you keep on arguing over the same thing and nothing seems to be happening. And then it gets escalated and you get more angry and frustrated and you feel like they're not listening. That's called a perpetual problem. And
so are you saying that a perpetual problem is actually one that's literally unsolvable? So there's no hope. I'm not going to solve this argument ever.
Yeah, I am saying that. And so the way that you deal with it,
so hopeless.
So let me give you a little bit of hope.
Okay.
So when there is a problem like that and one person's not relenting, or actually it'd be two people not relenting, right? What is usually happening is it's something that's so important to them. It's so ingrained. It probably started from from their childhood. So it could be about sex. It could be about finances. It could be about anything. It could be about the way that you raise your kids. But the way that you experience life from when you're young, that becomes kind of your moral compass. Does that make sense? So maybe one person was raised in a very strict religious family and the other one was raised as a hippie and you could be free and do whatever. So imagine the different mindsets that come in.
Yeah.
But it really, really matters to each person. So it's important to be aware of that. But the way that you deal with it is you communicate. You have to talk. You have to really ask questions. You got to find out, why is your partner so staunch on their stance on that issue? Find out where they're coming from. Really keep on asking questions until you feel like you understand it. Doesn't mean you have to agree.
Right.
I won't agree.
Yeah.
But once you understand it and you can understand where they're coming from, you can have that conversation. And then at that point, you can agree to disagree. And you deal with it. You find a way to deal with it. So maybe you say, okay, whenever this subject comes up, we know that we're not going to agree. It's just the way it is. So why don't we make a plan that when it comes up, we say, oh, there it is. And let's take a breather for 20 minutes and we'll come back and we'll talk again. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, that's great. That is so great.
But it's huge.
That's actual like step-by-step, like a way to handle something that can literally tear you apart. I mean, those are reasons why people get divorced. They're like, we just don't agree. We're not compatible anymore. Like, she doesn't get me and I don't get her. But you have to come to a point where you're like, we don't get each other on this. And that's okay. Let's just take a minute and we'll come back to this topic, or we'll just
figure it out. Let's see why don't we get it? Okay, I know, because you came from a totally screwed up background or whatever it is. But then you can get that empathy. And, my husband and I come from very different backgrounds, very, very different backgrounds. And because we've been together, because we've practiced this exact exercise, he and I understand each other better and respect each other.
Yeah.
Respect each other's thoughts. But let me just say this. A lot of couples do leave because of these perpetual arguments. But just know that it's 69% of every argument that you're going to be in, whatever relationship you are in, is going to be perpetual. So you might leave this relationship for this reason, but you're going to have another one over here.
Yeah. So yeah. And maybe that's why people have 5, 6 marriages in their lifetime, or sometimes more, because they don't learn how to handle perpetual arguments.
It's probably a big reason. Yeah, one of the reasons. But I'm not saying every couple should stay together. I'm not one of those proponents. Right. I think that there are times when it's just not going to work. If you're arguing constantly and you hate each other and each other's bringing each other down, there are times when it's just not going to work.
When it's so unhealthy that it's time
It's so unhealthy.
Yeah. Okay, so tell me, is there like a tip or something that you can give to our audience or to anybody or any couple that's struggling? Like, what's like the main tip that you can tell them right now that can really help them start to move the needle?
Gratitude attitude. Have you ever heard me say that before, Sarah? Gratitude attitude. It's huge. So. It's huge. And so what the gratitude attitude is it's so let me just tell you, I'll give you an exact experience.
Okay.
The other day, my husband and I had a perpetual disagreement. And I was so mad. I mean, it was big. It was a blowout. It was a blowout. Even though I'm a relationship coach, we're a couple and it happens. And it was a blowout. And so I went to bed. I was pissed. I woke up the next morning and I was so upset. And this doesn't happen that often, but I was so upset that my stomach hurt. It didn't feel good. I was like, I had an upset stomach and it lasted for most of the day. And finally around 2:00, I was at the grocery store. I'm like, what am I doing? What would I advise to my clients? And then I remembered the gratitude attitude, and how it works is you think of what you're grateful for with your partner. okay, but at this point, I was so angry with him. I didn't want to go there yet. So I started smaller. I started thinking of, okay, my kids, what am I grateful for with my kids? I'm grateful for that they're healthy. I'm grateful for that they are respectful and that I have awesome kids and like all these little things. I started to build that up. And then I started thinking in my life, what am I grateful for? Oh, I'm grateful for that I have a car to drive me to where I need to go. I'm grateful for that I have a home and a roof and I'm safe and just these little things. But when I first started with him, probably 5 seconds, my stress level went way down. I wasn't that anger started to release.
Okay.
And after about 10 seconds of thinking this way, I was able to move to my husband. I had to start small and build up. But then I was finally able to look at my husband and go, okay, let's put this in perspective. And I started thinking of all the things I'm grateful for with him. And there's a ton. I could go on all day.
Yeah.
But you have to be aware of it. It's really everything in your relationship is about being aware. And so I had to be aware of this gratitude attitude idea, because when you're angry, our tendency is to want to stay angry, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be aware of it and then have the tool in your mental pocket. I call it your mental toolbox, and be able to pull that out and say, okay, how am I going to change this? Because this is ridiculous. I hate feeling this way.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're going to go and get divorced. So let's deal with this. How am I going to deal with this? And here's the thing is that once I kind of calmed down from my anger high, I was able to approach him better, because if I would have gone to him when I was pissed and brought it up again, guess what would have happened?
It would have just gone
huge blow. Yeah, nothing would be solved. Nothing would be better. But I was able to approach him and like we could talk. We could actually talk.
Right.
And it was positive and it was good. And then we could just kind of sweep it under the rug for now. It'll come up again. It's not done. But we handled it so much better. And I handled it so much better because I was the one who was truly just angry. So attitude.
It's like easy to let bitterness pile up or be angry. It's easy to stay in that state. And it takes a stronger mindset to tell yourself, okay, I'm not going to stay in this mindset here. I'm going to push myself to go into this mindset. I love how you started. It would have never even crossed my mind to start saying things I'm grateful for to get me to be able to say I'm grateful for this thing that I'm so mad about. So that's very strategic.
I had to. I was so mad.
I was so funny. Mad. I can't really picture you mad, Midori. You are just.
My husband can. My husband can picture me mad. But I get really angry way less than I used to.
Yeah.
Way less. And it's a lot. It's so much healthier and happier. And yeah.
Okay. So we've gotten a few email questions from some of our audience that has questions. And I went through and I kind of took out all the stories and just wrote it down into a question. So the general question here is, all my husband wants to do is sit at home. He doesn't want to do anything. I am bored. What can I do?
What can you do? So that comes back to kind of the lifestyle thing and communication. But, I teach these things called 90-day goals and coming up with your bigger ideas of what you want to do. But that's what I would suggest to this person is you have to communicate, and you have to communicate positive. If you're going at them saying, you're so boring, I'm sick of sitting at home, I can't stand this, you make me sick, they're going to get defensive and they're going to not respond the way that you want them to respond. So you have to be strategic. Yeah. But going to them and saying, hey, you know what, can we just have coffee? Do something small that you know that they will say yes to. Give them a reason to say yes. And then take that time and say, let's talk about where we're going in our life. Let's talk about some of these things and start talking, have in your mind some of the things that you're excited about or that you would love to do, and start talking some things also that you think that they would be on board, because you need to get those yes statements in your pocket, because the more yeses that you get, the more they're going to be on board with you. Again, this is strategy.
Yeah.
And so then you just start talking about it, and you start, you will see your partner starting to get excited. Oh my gosh, yeah, you're right. We could figure this out so that we can go on vacation to Ethiopia or Europe or wherever you want to go. We can we can do this.
Yeah.
And let's plan something small. Let's go camping. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. But again, you're communicating, you're bonding, you're coming up with something together that you both agree on. and you will start to see the conversation changing. And then they will be more on board to do what you want to do too, because they know that you're working together. Does that make sense?
Good. Yes. I like that. That's great. Actionable too. Okay. So the next one is, my girlfriend is saying that she wants a break because she wants to find herself. What do you think that really means?
Oh, that's a big one. I think, without knowing the couple, without seeing them and really knowing them, I don't want to read into that too much. But what I will say is, in general, when I see someone pulling away, the best thing you can do for yourself is to allow it to happen and find something positive that you can go do to build up your confidence, to build up where you're going. So you're focused on just yourself, not focused on the relationship anymore. So, maybe they'll come back, or maybe they'll see that you're doing all these amazing things, and they're like, whoa, all of a sudden she's more attractive. What the hell am I doing? I'm an idiot. Maybe by then you've moved on and you found someone even better. But I believe the healthiest way to deal with a situation like that, instead of trying to hold on so tight and be so disappointed and watching your confidence go down, 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 is say, you know what, you go do what you need to do, and I'm going to go do what I need to do. And making that what you need to do, working on yourself and building up your confidence. So maybe it's focusing on a passion that you've had, a new career, working out, dressing differently, whatever, but just go work on yourself, and you'll see that it's a lot easier to detach. And all of a sudden you're going to end up way up here, and I don't know where your partner's going to end up, but who cares? It's going to be you.
But I feel like, if I was to make that statement, for example, that's kind of the cue for, I'm checking out.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is sometimes people read into things a little bit too much. Like, well, maybe I just need to give him a second, and then once he figures it out, he's going to be back, or she's going to be back. And you waste a lot of time that way. That's why I'm saying it's important for you to go and concentrate on yourself. Even in a relationship where you've been married for 50 years, whatever amount of time, concentrate on yourself and work on your confidence, because as you work on your confidence and you build that confidence, you're going to be able to come into any relationship better.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my tip to them.
I have a girl that used to work for me, and her boyfriend broke up with her and said, oh, you're coming into, this part of your life where you need to figure out life for yourself, and like kind of left her hanging on a hook. And she was like, oh, well, I just need to wait. I just need to wait for him. He's going to see. And I helped her. I was like, girl, just walk away. You know how I am. Like,
walk away.
Don't mess with that.
If it's meant to be, it'll happen. Yeah. I mean, my husband and I always say this. We had our divorce. Actually, we had like 3 divorces before we got married.
Yeah.
Where I had to walk away in the part where I finally figured it out was when I stopped worrying about him and I started concentrating on myself. And it was like so freeing.
Yes.
And that's when he's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I totally.
She's not coming back.
I love it.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, that's my biggest tip. And it's hard when you're in the middle of it to see it clearly, but if you can remember this part of it, that is what I say.
Okay. The next question is from, I don't know who this is from. I didn't write down the name, but I started dating a guy who is really nice and seems to be put together, but he doesn't make me laugh and he doesn't really ask about me. So can I truly have it all, or is that unrealistic?
Oh, I like this question. I think that you got to think in the future. If he's not asking about you, that's a big red flag. Because a relationship relies on them knowing you and being totally involved with you and wanting to know as much as possible about you, right?
Right.
And if you're not having fun with the person in the very beginning, I mean, that's when it should be super uber fun. Then, oh my God, what's it going to be like 10 years from now when you're older and life gets in the way and all these other things? It's going to be even tougher to bring that back. So I believe that when you're when you are looking for a partner, or when you're in the beginning of a stage, if it's work already and you're not feeling that excitement and that exuberance, and you're getting those mental red flags in your head and you're just trying to pretend that they're not there, you got to pay attention to those.
Yeah. Yeah. They're red flags worth like noticing.
Yeah. And sometimes because we have these certain mindsets, remember I told you about in the very beginning, we talked about these mindsets of what we learned from when we're younger, and it's our reality. It's what we believe is true. That you can't have a healthy relationship, that men can't ever be the perfect guy for you. And I'm not saying anyone's ever going to be perfect, because that's impossible, but you can have a great partner. And I think everyone should strive for that.
Okay, good. Okay. So the next question is, my wife and I, all we do is fight. Usually it revolves around money, and it causes so much stress, and I don't know how to change it.
Okay. So that's where you have to have the financial conversation. And there's a lot to that. There's a lot about setting that up. But one thing that I do recommend for every couple is to meet once a week, to have like a kind of a business meeting, but you can make it fun because it's your relationship. So it could be maybe going out on a Friday after work and going and having a drink and like talking about your week, but having it structured. I believe that you should run it a little bit like a regular business meeting, where you are going to talk about finances. You are going to talk about what your goals are together and where you're going. You are going to talk about the kid, whatever the main topics are that you want to talk about, and make it a weekly thing every week. Because as you do that, it keeps you connected and you're on the same page, or you understand each other better. It makes it fun. And those stresses that if you don't deal with them for a long time can become huge, especially finances. That's the number one reason for divorce. But if you're dealing with it on a weekly basis, it doesn't become that huge thing. And it can become something that's fun and exciting because you are working towards creating a certain type of wealth or whatever.
Well, holy moly. Like, what could be hotter than having a business meeting with your husband? Like,
and you guys can like go sleep together later.
I know, right? That's like the thing you can't do in the real world, but you can like, make it happen. Like, yeah.
Not good to do on regular business meetings, but.
Okay, good advice. All right, Midori, I finally get to turn this game on you that you've created. The truth or truth game. So now we're going to see what your opinion is on some of the stuff that we've been asking our guests for a few times. So,
okay.
So I'm going to change the whatever vibe on you here. Okay. Tell me now, what persona fits you best? Are you a no frills kind of girl? I can be out the door in a moment's notice. Or if I need milk, I'll go in my pajamas, but I will try to escape without being seen. Leaving home without lip gloss is like going out naked.
The last one. I don't really leave my house until I'm at least put together.
Lip gloss.
You got to have lip gloss on.
The lip gloss.
You will never see me out in my pajamas, ever.
You were just showing us your new lip gloss you got.
Yes. My plumper. I think it's a plumping one. Look, I'll show it to you guys again. Can you see it?
I feel it.
It's MAC. It's called Plush Glass. Maybe they'll send me some for free, but it's fun because you put it on and your lips start to tingle.
Oh, I
love it.
So, yeah. I would be distracted. I'd be like, I can't focus because my lips are tingling. Oh, man. Okay. Anyways, all right, what's the most attractive quality in a man? His integrity, humor, big pec muscles, or a fat wallet?
Okay, and I have to be totally honest. Humor for sure. Yeah. I would hate to be with someone who doesn't make me laugh. But pec muscles will attract me in the beginning. They will.
At the beginning, it's the pecs, but later you've got to make me laugh. Like, yeah, that's good. That's hilarious. Okay, if you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I would want to be a super athlete, like Stephen Curry and who's that total awesome soccer girl, the goalie. Actually, I wouldn't want to be her, but like someone who has just these superpowers in whatever sport they're playing, because I would love to have that experience of being world class, being at the top of my game, having the audience watch me, and like I am the savior to the team. And
you've got the big like gold medal or whatever.
Yeah. And just knowing, like just having that in me, just like I can't miss a shot. I can't miss a shot, and I'm rocking.
Well,
And
I did read about a drug called, I have to look
for your heart.
Yeah, it's a drug called meldonium, in which might be able to help you get there, Midori. That might be
I might try it. I'll let you know. If all of a sudden I start running faster and all that, you'll know.
Oh, too bad there's not like a super power that could make like our show have a gold medal or something. But maybe
we can look for it.
Okay, so if next question. If you had to pick one of these, which would you pick? Oh my God, this is my question. This is my favorite question ever. If you had to have one of these, what would it be? Cellulite, a turkey neck, crow's feet, stretch marks, or flapping arms?
Oh. God, those are so sucky. I would probably say crow's feet because I already have them.
Yeah.
But there's things for that. There's things for that.
I really don't think you can get rid of them anyways. And crow's feet are a sign of like, you're happy and you smile.
Yeah, I agree. That's why out of all those horrendous things that you just asked me, I'll say that. Like when I was pregnant, I was so scared of stretch marks. Talk about fear driving me. I worked out every single day. I worked out, I think, 97 days in a row. I was in the best shape of my life when I was pregnant because I was so scared of stretch marks.
Mm-hmm. I was too. I mean, you see like horror graphics online, and thank God that didn't happen to me, but like, you just never know. Like it's a genetic thing too. It's not that working out could save you from it. Like I'm pretty sure it's genetic.
A lot of it is genetic, but yeah, I was going to do everything in my power to avoid it.
You're funny. Okay, so the last question is, if you could be a man for one day, what would you do?
Okay, I would, you know what I would do? Because I think it would be so fun.
What?
I would go to the bar. I would go to the bar and I'd hit on chicks. And I'd just see how good I was at it. That's totally what I would do. I'd dress myself up the best I could as a guy, do my hair, shave, best of my game. And I go to the bar and I pick up on chicks.
Midori, you're really wanting to get out there, aren't you?
I think it'd be so fun.
Actually, yeah, I just saw a movie where this guy was at a bar trying to pick up chicks. Well, actually, a guy was showing another guy how to pick up chicks at a bar. And I was like, if I was a man, I'd be taking notes right now because this stuff is pretty good. That's really funny. Yeah, that would be a good thing to try.
Well, maybe when you come out, we could do that. We could dress up as guys. I can take you to the bar and we can go see how good we are at picking up on women.
Or I could just be a woman trying to pick up a man.
That's not as fun.
It's not as fun. You're right. That's a good idea, though. Okay.
We can go to San Francisco where it's accepted.
That is true. That is true. Oh, that's where we met. Aw.
It is.
We go back for good time's sake. So tell me, you have like a 30-day to thrive course. I've seen it. I've heard all about it. It's amazing. Tell us, like, where can people hear more about this? How do they stay connected with you after the show to hear more about what you can do to help them with their relationships?
Yeah, we have a really exciting program going on right now. But what I recommend is go to midoriverity.com, and that's where you can register for a free webinar. I give away my 2 very simple steps to creating a thriving lifestyle and relationship like we've been talking about. There's a lot of content in there where I share with you just a very simple process of how to do it. But that's where I would recommend starting, is just going to midoriverity.com, watch the webinar, and then there's some other things in there too that you might be interested in. So
yes. I'm specifically excited about some of the bonus items that you have in your course with some of really big celebrity names, and you're giving it away for practically nothing. So the course that you have is so awesome. So I hope everybody that's watching this goes sit through the webinar. It will be you'll get some of the best advice you've ever received about relationships, even more than what we've received here, which was great stuff already. So I definitely challenge you to check that out. I'm single. I watched it. I went through it, and it enlightened me in 10 different ways. It was some of the best time I've spent all week. So I highly recommend you go do it too. So anyways, Midori, thank you for being here. Next week's show, do you have the link to our next week's show?
It is not here, but let's see if I can pull it up really quick. It's Summer. Her name is Summer. She is the vice president of Paramount Pictures. And it's going to be amazing. We're going to find out how she's known as the Hollywood Queen.
Duchess?
What is she known as?
Duchess.
Yes. Thank you. The Hollywood Duchess. And so we're going to find out, how did she get to this level? Because she's fairly young. But how did she do it? Hollywood is not an easy world to be in, and to thrive the way that she has. There's going to be a lot of takeaways. I can already tell there's going to be a lot of takeaways in that show.
Oh, I'm excited about it. So this was, I mean, probably one of my favorite shows ever. Truly, like being able to pick your brain about the area of expertise that you have. I think our audience is just going to love you even more. So this was awesome. I'm so happy we made time to do this, and look forward to next week's show. Remember that if you are looking for more, give more. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye, everyone.
Bye.